Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Sydology 101. I am crazy excited because I am joined by Dr. Peter Dunn. And what's wild is him and I in the pre-chat, we're just talking about our encounters. And I know I've heard of you, or I know I've seen you before. And everybody knows on the podcast, I always joke and say I've been that troll in the background who I really didn't like to be in the spotlight. Mark Costas, of course, likes to push people outside of their comfort zone. And I'm so honored that Dr. Peter has scheduled with me because I really do feel like you have a unique talent, a unique situation, and a unique skill set coming from being a practice owner, a clinician, a dentist, and then you're working in medical. So you have a different perspective for a lot of our listeners. So thank you, Peter, for joining me, and let's get into it. So let's start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Like you said, I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I have two kids right now. I have a 4-year-old, a 2-year-old, and an unborn baby girl. So I have two boys now and a baby girl on the way. And she is due in about a month. And so we're just nesting now. We just moved into our house and we're just getting things ready, really enjoying the process of getting ready for baby number three. There's like a lot of systems that go into it. You want to make sure you have the thing here, so you change the diapers well, and it goes into all that flow is happening. I'm excited because I'm used to disciplining the boys a lot, and I hear that I get to just spoil the girl and enjoy getting manipulated. So I can't wait.
Coming from a oldest child of four girls, good luck. And she is going to be
Wow.
adorable. I am super excited for you. I can't wait to see pictures. You're going to have to get one of those hats that says Girl Dad.
I want
Yes.
everything. I want the hat. I want the t-shirt. I'm gonna dress her up into like little Pokemon or something like that. It's gonna be great.
I love that. I love that so much. As being a clinician, you have two kids, baby on the way. One of the biggest things that we all find challenging, whether you're in dentistry or any type of professional, is that healthy work-life balance. And your wife, she practiced medicine, right? What type of clinic does she run?
Yeah, so she's an internal medicine doctor. So a doctor for adults, I guess you could say, a generalist. Over time, she didn't like the fact that she was a little incentivized to prescribe medications. She was basically prescribing medications to solve for people's symptoms. And over time, that didn't feel good for her. And she felt like there was something else out there. And so she now is practicing functional medicine. So it's a self-study program that she had to take. She had to take a couple of masterminds and things of that nature to get educated on. It took a few years to learn. And basically, functional medicine is the study of finding the root causes of the disease and illnesses that you go through. And she's doing that now. She has a telemedicine office. And so it's actually really crazy because I feel like in dentistry, you got to like sit down and do all these tests and go to state by state or whatever. But in medicine, apparently you just got to click a couple buttons and you get licensed, and she's licensed in like 20 something states. And so it's unfair. Of course, there's a fee for it. Certain states are stricter than others, that kind of thing. So she has a pretty nice now. She has a telemedicine office, remote position. We send all the tests to people's houses, that kind of stuff. So she's loving that part much more.
Nice. With you owning your practice and being a clinician, and you have your wife that has this amazing career in medicine too. You have two boys, one on the way. What do you find that you and your wife do to have that healthy work-life balance?
Oh, good question. I would say intentionality is probably a big one. I don't know if it's like too voodoo-y out there, but we try our best to protect each other's space. That's probably a big one. We both know that if she is at her 100%, then the family's happier, and same thing with me. And so making sure that our needs are met. We came at it with the goal of trying to optimize for time. A lot of people optimize for money, which of course that's obviously very important, the goal. We started with the goal of time involved. And so what did that look like? It meant that her 8 to 5 job in the conventional medicine clinic where she had to show up might not have been best for her. And so she created her own thing. And I supported that. So while she was not working, I was working more in that journey. And when I first owned my first practice, because I have two now, she was working a little bit more to support me. And so just having that intentionality, both of us knowing what the goal is, both of us rowing in the same direction at the same time, I think that's probably the biggest driver. And then also communicating that to our families. I think sometimes we forget that we have a lot of friends and families that can support us on the journey. And so making sure that everyone is aligned with whatever the goal is. And
Yeah.
as a result, my parents can help pick up the kids here and there, or her parents can help cook for a certain time period. And just organizing all of that has been really helpful.
Okay,
And
I
having a great
find
team. Shoot, I couldn't have done it without my team. If I didn't have my team, it wouldn't have worked out. Taking the landing to team culture. I mean, I can go on and on about that kind of stuff because I wouldn't be able to have time if my team wasn't able to help me on my journey. So
yeah, I love that you said that because when I think about what you and your wife have, you have these medical careers, you both have been practice owners, you own your own businesses, you have these amazing kids and this life that you live. But then you think about your professional and how I love how you said that time is really important to you guys. Instead of making it about what is valuable to you, that time is actually valuable. And Mark talks about this a lot in DSI, the balance of your four futures. And so I love that you said that. And I absolutely love that you mentioned your team members, because if you don't have a strong team that has your back, when you leave to go and take your kiddos to soccer or football, or hey, I just want to take my wife out to lunch, you find that you can't do those things because you don't have a strong team.
yeah.
So, leading into that, I would love to know, especially for those ones who want to get to where you are, Peter, how did you build this team that helps support you so that you can have that time with your family?
One piece at a time, one system at a time. I think if I were to reflect back on the earlier parts of my career, I've been an owner for about 8 years now. I would say that finding the right team members in the right spots. You have your team philosophy, your practice philosophy, and I would always say, well, what is the practice about? It's about finding good people that want to do the work, that enjoy coming to work. And you slowly spread this idea, and the team members that fit that mold and fit that philosophy, they tend to stay around a little bit longer. And the people that doesn't resonate with them, they tend to work their way out. Or the team that is there, they protect the house and they slowly weed them out for me. And yeah, tough question, but one team member at a time, really. And just know the direction that you're going in. And I think you'll eventually get there. I think sometimes we're in a rush to get to the end destination. And it's about the journey. It's about enjoying the journey and trying to go on the journey. And we're going to make mistakes. I've made a million of them. I'm still making a million mistakes. But it's about knowing that the mistake is not a mistake. It's really the greatest lesson for you. You figure out where your bearings are there and just keep on moving. Just keep on moving and trying to find that right place, I think. So
Yeah, no, you know that. I agree. I've never been a practice owner. I've always been a support. I've been that operation workflow kind of gal and again, in the background of things. I've been a team member. And it wasn't until I actually started working with Dr. Mark Costas, who, just like you, is one team member at a time. And what I learned from my own life lessons was if I put in just as much effort as my practice owner and I understood, I have a funny saying, WWMD, what would Mark do? And if I could really understand his goals and where he wants to be, then it helped me be able to provide that support and build that trust where he trusts me to get things done so that he can leave at 3:30 to go take his kids to soccer. And he knows that we're going to do our end of day checklist. Now, I want to pivot a bit because I'm going to go back to old Sydney because Sydney didn't learn this. Maybe took me a while, maybe 3 years into it. And I don't feel like if I had to reflect back on it, I don't feel like I was the best team member in the beginning. I felt like I had that grit. I had that I'm going to work hard. I'm naturally a fun person to be around. I like to joke. I like to have fun. But when I put myself in a professional setting, and I started to work with my practice owner, I just remember being told, hey, you need to fill the schedule. Hey, you got to call on these claims. You got to verify these insurance. I would think that I'm doing a good job, but the doctor perspective wasn't my perspective. Building this team, for those team members that are listening, how do you think that you communicate it with your team members to help them understand your goals and where you want to be? And how did you lift your team members to actually get them to where you wanted to be?
yeah, that's an interesting question because at the root of the question, you're asking it in terms of where I am. And I think from a high level leadership perspective, you have to figure out where your team member is. Because ultimately, and you've heard this from either Mark or Alistair, I learned it from Alistair, it's not a dictatorship. This is a co-creative process. And you are the expert in your own field. And so if I go from the place of, okay, I got to get what's in my head, in my team, just philosophically, it takes away the team member's magic potentially. And if we want to run and create a team that is self-replicating and grows on their own, we have to unlock the potential of that team member. And so it's figuring out like, what do they enjoy doing and what are they good at? What lights them up? And then starting from there, because then they can start to figure out like, I'm not sitting at the front desk the whole time, as an example. I'm not going to sit there and know everything that's going on. And so there's a million puzzles that they will solve that I will never see. And so how do we unlock that? By making them feel like they are the expert in their own field, which they are, because you don't want me at the front answering the phones. I'm on the phones too long and I'm not like putting them on hold and taking care of the person in front of me and then managing the schedule. Like I just don't have that skill set.
Yeah, yeah.
And to answer your question, I just think it's about letting everyone know what the target is and what the goal is, and then trying to work with them to try to get there together. And a lot of times my role will be in a place of figuring out what the scoreboard is or figuring out what the target is. Like, we're trying to increase the number of new patients in the clinic. I'm thinking this, what do you think? What do you think needs to be done in order to get there? And so I think if we start there, then you're starting from a place of unlocking the team members' potential and you're getting their buy-in early versus, hey, I think these are all the things that need to be done. And this is how we get there, right? Because then you're following me. And at some point, you're going to surpass me really fast. And you don't want me leading the way. You want me pointing at the target and like, this is the scoreboard. But we really want to rely on the team member to guide us a lot of the way, assuming that they're the type that wants to solve their own problems. They have the grit, like you said, they fit the culture, they learn well, they're still open to taking feedback. If you have that type of team member, then that's the perfect person that you want to follow in a sense. And then my role is I have to figure out where my best leadership position is in this to guide you with where you're lacking direction or where you're lacking something. Hopefully I'm making sense.
No, you nailed it, because if I think about that experience that I had in that example that I gave you, again, as a team member, I actually didn't have that vulnerability where I felt like I could be honest, because I built that trust with Mark. I built that trust with all my leaders where they trust me to get things done. I would be the one that was first one in, last one out. If I didn't have time to do something, I would go in and do it. However, again, that perspective of what does that look like for my practice owner? What does that look like for my office manager? And I like that you said, like, I want to get their involvement. And something that I had as a problem when I was a team member was to be vulnerable, to trust that I can say that I don't know how to do something. I can trust that it's okay that I don't know how to do it. What the first step is for me to actually come out and say it. So I think you nailed it when it comes to that collaboration piece. But if I can add one more to our listeners from a team member perspective, guys, we have to be vulnerable enough to say that we don't know. I'll never forget this, but it wasn't until I actually got written up and Mark set me down and he was like, okay, girl, let's talk about this. And it was about the schedule that will always forever be in my mind, because at that time I was young and I was just a scheduling coordinator. It wasn't until I actually opened up my mouth, instead of taking the feedback, okay, I got to do better. I got to figure out how to do better. I actually said, can you tell me, what does a full schedule look like to you? Mind blowing. Even for Mark, he was like, oh, yeah, I'll show you what a full schedule looks like. It wasn't until he walked me through the actual math behind it. And you nailed it when you said, find out what makes them happy, like what makes them tick, what fills their bucket. And he realized that I actually have a knack for system and operating. I love problem solving. I love piecing things together. And when he started to say, okay, I can't be in an implant because I can't leave. You cannot put a 4 surface fillings and all fillings right next to that implant because I can't jump over here. And when those puzzle pieces started to click for me, I am telling y'all, it just vibed and it was so great. And I think that was the aha moment for me was it's okay to be vulnerable. If your doctor, like you, Dr. Peter, if you are saying, I trust my team, I want to collaborate with you, I want to put you in the right seat. Guys, as team members, we have to now be comfortable to say, okay, I know you trust me. So let me just be vulnerable with you and say, I want to help you get to your goal. I see the target that you have. I'm just not quite sure how to get there. And it's okay. So I love that. I
Well,
love that you
I
encourage
think
your
it's so
team.
powerful what you brought up. And I think that's why it's great to have these types of conversations because you can hear it from two different two different places. That vulnerability is something that honestly us owners probably underestimate. And you just saying is it's really interesting because especially with new team members, in order for a person to actually be vulnerable, they have to feel safe. And a lot of times, if us doctors and us leaders, if we're not in that mindset, then we have a lot of things going on in our mind. We're trying to do this root canal. We're not thinking to
Mm-hmm.
make the place a safe place. It's not
Mm-hmm.
like a natural intention for ourselves. And sometimes, like you said, asking the question so that you can be vulnerable can really open up some doors. It can also backfire in some ways, depending on the type of doctor that you're, because they might see vulnerability as being weakness, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where, to your point, being vulnerable absolutely moves the needle for the practice. The reason why we don't want to be vulnerable is because we don't want to look stupid. We don't want to make a mistake. So you have to have an environment that it's okay to make mistakes. We want you to make mistakes. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. But if you don't have that environment, it can be scary.
That's really powerful what you said because I have trauma from other practices where maybe I was yelled at or something was thrown at me. I have some people that I've talked to, you hundreds and maybe even thousands at this point of people, and I've heard some horror stories. And I think it's like leaving that baggage and coming in with a whole new perspective. He constantly said, I want your feedback. But in my mind, I was like, no, he doesn't, because as soon as I say something, it's going to get shut down. And
Yeah.
so I love what you said about being a practice owner. We have to make sure that our team members do feel comfortable and safe. So, you being a leader, you being a practice owner, what is one thing that you do for your team members so that they do feel comfortable and they can collaborate and they do feel like they can be vulnerable with you?
One thing that I feel good about is that I check in with my team. I make it a habit to really check in with my team. And early on in my career, it was very stressful. And I just remember trying to go to the next thing, fix the next thing, and bounce around. And it hit me one day where I needed to grow my practice, or I wanted to grow my practice. And I had this philosophy of if I'm at 100%, then my team can be at 100%. So I started working out, I started exercising. I realized I'm like, like I haven't spoken to that one team member in a week. Like I haven't really sat down and checked in and see how they're doing. And so I made it my intention. I made it an effort to just want to know what's going on in my team members' lives on a regular basis. Just check in, just not have to go, but like, hey, how are the kids doing? Or they had the little soccer game and how did they do? Just checking in on that level. I think that was very helpful. But also explaining just like philosophically what I'm about. I think at the beginning I really didn't think anyone cared much about that kind of stuff. I just like kept it to myself. And so during team meetings, I would just share what I'm about and what I believe in. And I think people started to believe me in a sense. I feel like at the beginning it was, they don't want to hear about these like mushy things. But I think it humanizes us as owners and really got us a lot closer. And so since we're closer, people can be more open and vulnerable. I think that's probably the biggest one. So
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I think you nailed it when you say we get caught up in our day to day, we get caught up in all the things we have to do. And if you don't feel good, then you really, that energy that you give off, your team members are going to feel that as well, which makes it difficult. And if we go back to your main goal, how you and your wife have that healthy work-life balance, if you go into the office and you're having a bad day, you don't feel good, you were up all night with the kids, your team members feel it and they just avoid you versus you saying, you know what, I was up all night. The baby did not have a great night and I wanted to do these things. We're naturally going to jump in and support you. Hey, doc, let me go get you a coffee. Let me make you an espresso shot. I don't know about you. I'm from the South. Actually, I'm from Atlanta.
perfect. Okay.
You're an embarrassment.
Nice. Come back.
So you're right. I really I visit all the time, but my love language is food because that is always something that goes in. So I'm like, let me go get you lunch or let me do this. And I love that you humanize that for your team members so that they know you are a person, but also vice versa. I'm going to treat you as a person as well.
If people are at the 100%, then they show up better. So I initially created the system of the morning huddle of sharing positives. And at the beginning, I said, okay, let's share something positive about something that someone did well the day before. And then
Yeah.
the team just took it and just went a completely different direction. And I had the instinct to want to change it, but then I was like, you know what? Let me just let this happen and see what comes from it.
Yeah.
And so they basically changed it to things in their personal life that has happened that has gone well, the day before, the week before, whatever. And then it's become such a nice blessing because you get to catch up with people
Yeah.
like in a quick snippet. And I think the beauty about it is that and what you'll notice that a lot of people, when you ask them, hey, let's share something positive, a lot of people will share negative things. And then it brings up the question and the exercise of, in order to truly be happy and in order to connect to fulfillment, you have to be able to actively go towards the joy and happiness in your life. And it's become an exercise to practice seeking joy or seeking happiness. And whenever someone goes to the negative side, I will give the gentle reminder that we want to practice. If we want to go positive, like you have to be able to turn on the switch because that's how you experience joy and happiness anyway. So the simple system of bringing up something good before the day starts so that everyone is in their best energy starting the day. Like
Yeah.
I think that's gone the furthest.
Yeah, I have to 100% agree with you. We start all of our, even in DSN, FOA. I left the dental practice. I do go back just to visit, but we have morning huddles too, and we start those off with personal. Now, we're a bit of jokesters and we all like to play games. So we may show up and the other day everybody had an avatar and it was one of our team members and we were just poking fun and all of us had like different phases of this team member, so like birthday hat, someone was dressed as a cat, like that type of thing. It just makes the day fun, and as you start to think about that feeling that you get, everyone starts off laughing, right? And then we get into our meeting and everyone's now their guard is down, we're all feeling like family and now we're all collaborating. So I love that you said that is a great start. I encourage anybody who have team meetings, always start with something positive. When I moved up in the company and I was managing two locations, Mark had just acquired a practice, and we had the team members from the previous owner. And we're implementing our morning huddles. And I'm so used to like everyone starting with a joke or like you said, something personal. So I came in ready, full blown energy. And I'll never forget that I got shut down. This was the first acquisition
No
I ever
way.
did. Yes, it was the worst. And everybody knows I'm a direct person. This is old Sydney before I had real leadership skills. So I know everybody's going to cringe, but when this happened to me and I was like, oh, I shared one thing personal. It was actually pretty funny. My car had broke down and I told them like this funny story. It was actually pretty fun. And they go, one lady goes, we don't have time to hear about your funny story with the tow truck guy. And I clenched my pearls. I was like,
Whoa.
dang, who peed in your coffee this morning? Is exactly what I said. That was old Sydney.
That's
That was
funny.
Sydney who did not have leadership skills. But I'll never forget it. And she just looked at me. She had her hand on her hip and she was just like, no one cares. And but you can only imagine my reaction to it.
Whew.
I felt deflated. I
Oh, for
felt,
sure.
and then I was like, okay, now I understand. I do get it. It's their first time meeting me, that type of thing. And I thought I could lighten the mood. But I will say, as things went forward, other team members was buying into it. And so I was like, let's
Mm,
all just have one thing positive, one thing personal, like you mentioned. And people would, like you said, naturally go to negative. I want to take it a step further. When I found that people would naturally go negative, and I would do the gentle reminders, but then I start pulling them aside. Hey, what's really going on? And it was those team members that I don't want to share my business. I think it's whatever's my business is my business. I don't want to share that. Me and Mark sat down and we thought about our core values and we said, at what cost? But those were the team members that anytime we want to collaborate, they're the ones that it's always something negative. Change wasn't in there. So whenever you did try to do systems or you do want to talk about your schedule, it was always like that negative energy. And we decided that's a non-negotiable for us. And it started, like you said, with the morning huddles coming in with something positive. We start to recognize those people who just didn't fit our vibe. So
Mm-hmm.
I love that you said that's where you start. So this is one of my favorite questions that I ask everybody on the show. And it has to do with what makes you a great leader. If you had to think about your journey all the way up until this point, and you have this healthy team, you have this great team, what is one thing that you can give as advice for leaders that are listening that you feel make you a great leader?
Man, but there's so many. My goodness, no, I'm just kidding.
No, let's hear them
there's
all.
there's just I've got to pick one thing, huh? I mean, I we discussed it already, which is just the intentionality of wanting to go on the journey with people. I think it's very easy, and I started this way as well too, which is I have this idea in my head, let's do this thing, let's all go rush to the thing. And I just found that people in that system, people worked harder when you were around, and people did more stuff when you said things versus really empowering people and really understanding what that meant. And that means this is truly a co-creative process. We're going to figure this out together. And of course, as a leader, you're thinking like 10 steps ahead and you're like, how can I ask the right questions to set my team member up? I suppose also maybe that whole cycle of stimuli, response, reaction instead of stimuli, reaction, response, making sure that there's not a reaction happening, trying to be intentional and mindful of what is my ideal response, knowing that every team member deserves a different answer. Everyone has a different way where speaking to them really can light them up. And it's our role as leaders to really try to figure out what lights that person up. How do I make it so that they are get really fulfilled and enjoy their job? So being thoughtful,
Yeah.
caring, just care, care about your
Yeah,
team.
just
Just
care.
not only care, but try to care, meaning try. Yes, you care, but how can I put intentionality behind leveling up the care or the leadership portion? It's easy to forget. Life happens. Everyone's so busy. It's easy to just go with the flow. But to stop and think, okay, what do I say here? How do I be a better leader on a regular basis? So
I love that. So when you think about how you got to where you are, right? Those are things that you feel make you a great leader. And I 100% agree with every single thing that you said. What was some of the resources or things that you did to get you to this point?
definitely, it really actually started with Mark. There's at the time, and Mark doesn't know me very well, but like you, I'm like the troll in the back that kind of knows other people.
Yeah.
At the time, early on, when podcasting was early, there was 3 podcasts out, and Mark was one of them, and he had 10 episodes out. I was the guy that like listened to all of his material. And so a lot of it was listening to the resources available, things like your podcast, your platform. Alistair was a big one for me. I mean, I've worked with Alistair for a number of years now, and he's been a game changer. So just the resources, getting coaching, getting that outside help, because they really, to use Alistair's words now, they really fold time for you. They really help speed you up and get a different perspective on things. The places that I learned the most. Definitely a plug-in for you guys, but it's definitely true for me. 100%
Yeah.
for me. So
I have to agree. And now I want to pivot for my team members that are listening. I talk about old Sydney versus now Sydney a lot. And old Sydney, one thing that stood out to me is once Mark discovered that I wasn't a great leader, it was actually when I decided I was going to quit. I was like, ugh, I hate this. It's awful. I can't manage people. They just don't want to work. And he took my resignation and said, no. So, how can I help support you? How can I get you to this level? Because you have this amazing work quality. I see it in you. If we just made these small tweaks, and it was him and I having a really open conversation, and I'll never forget it. one thing that changed for me, that pivot, was he started to put the same content that he was consuming, I started to consuming. And
Mm.
again, it was that aha moment for him because he's, oh, I didn't realize. I mean, this is the systemization guru, right? This is all about team culture. You found him on this podcast, but guess who never listened to his podcast? I didn't. I never went to a mastermind meeting. I didn't go to the conferences that he was going to. We were working with a couple of his coaches, like I knew Jake and they were helping me, but that was like the practice side. That was understanding the business side, but it wasn't the understanding the people side of how to become a better leader, how to communicate in a healthy way, how to fill people buckets. And I love that you said that you found these resources, but for my team members that are listening, if I can encourage you to do anything, is to consume the same content that your leaders and that your practice owners are consuming. Because my favorite line, WWMD, what will Mark do? I know if he was listening to a podcast or he was reading a book and he comes to me with this brilliant idea that he wants to start to implement, right? I know where he got it from because he shared that podcast or he shared that book with me. Hey, Sid, you should read this book. I love that. And I want to just throw that out there to all of our team members listening, especially listening to you, Peter, that you have this awesome team. You built this cool team that truly trusts you, that can be vulnerable. You can be the best leader that you can possibly be while having that work-life balance. And I'm sure it's because you share those things with your team members.
Thank you. I definitely feel blessed. It's definitely been a journey. Just wake up one day and you're like, I love everyone on the team. Like, man, so not like there isn't a single person that I don't
Yeah.
love right now. So it's
Yeah, I love that so much.
you're just
Yeah,
so surprised, huh? I can't believe
yeah,
I didn't even realize this
right.
happened.
Yeah, I had an aha moment because there's some times where, as a leader, I'm like, does my team members even like me, or is it because they know that I'm going to sign this check or that type of thing?
Yeah, yeah.
But we recently went on our company retreat, and our amazing owners treated us to a trip to Mexico. We did some mission work, but we had some great times professionally. But one of my biggest takeaways as a leader was when we were planning like 101 time, everybody had their free time. They were like, Sid, let's go to dinner or let's all hang out at the pool. And it was like we, instead of people venturing off and doing their own thing or clicking up and
Oh,
they're going, it was such a beautiful moment that everybody did want to spend time. So like you saying, like I love my team. We all just, it's like there's no one on the team that I'm like, ugh, this person just walked into the room. It was a eye-opening experience that now that we're all together, everybody truly gets along and we do enjoy each other's company. And for me as a leader, it just proved that there are things that we're doing right, that not only does our team members like each other, but they also like us. So I think that's really important.
yeah. Create an environment where you like the people around you.
Yes, yeah.
Nice. It's important.
So yeah, so we're coming up to a close. What is one thing that if you could put out there into the world, you can give someone a piece of advice, being a leader, a husband, a father, a business owner?
Hmm.
What will be a golden nugget that you just want to drop for everybody?
I would have to relate it to health because I think without your own personal health, you really can't do anything. I would say to pay attention to your body and pay attention to your health. What we find in our clinic is that people tend to tolerate their health issues and tolerate their health conditions. And they wait for decades and they know something's wrong, but they have a tendency to stop. And the reason is because life happens. And then
Yeah.
their attention goes to somewhere else. And so I would say really protect your health, really protect your gut health. Your gut produces 70 to 80% of your serotonin, for example. So if you want to feel happiness, you've got to make sure that's on point and just keep going and don't stop until you start to feel better. Experiment with it. That's
That is a good
what
one.
I would suggest.
I
Yeah,
love
it's
that.
we just keep seeing the same pattern, and all the clinicians listening and all the people listening here in the medical world now, what I'm noticing is that people that have a sixth sense with their health, they're normally right. They're
Mhm.
normally right that something's going on and they can't put their finger on it. And the good news is we're able to solve a lot of those issues. But I think if people just kept going and didn't
Yeah.
tolerate whatever baseline they're experiencing, if you're going to sleep and you keep waking up in the middle of the night, like that's not normal. keep doing something until that's fixed. Or if you're constipated, have GI issues, like that's not normal.
Mhm.
Keep going until something is solved. If you have low energy, like that's, and if you feel like that's not normal, it's not normal. Something is going on, and
Mhm.
keep going until you solve the thing, solve the
Yeah.
puzzle. And so that would be my advice. Your six senses are incredibly powerful, and they're probably right. So
Yeah. That is like the dopest response so far that I've gotten. And
voodoo, just voodoo magic.
I love it because I'm thinking about like how I talk to our team members. If you're not feeling well, that affects how you're going to come into the
Yeah,
office,
yeah,
right? If your gut hurts or maybe you are sluggish and you woke up 10 minutes before, those are the things that we should look at. Okay, have you been tracking your sleep? Or what does that look like for you? I have one team member who we all now have Apple Watches. And I was showing her, like, hey, have you used I think it's called the Mind Journal. I have to look at it again. But on your Apple, you can put in, like, how are you feeling for your mental health.
great exercise.
Mm, I
Like,
like that
how
one.
often do we check in with ourselves?
Yeah.
And it develops your self-awareness, because a lot of times
Mm,
people can't even detect or describe the thing that they're going through. And if you don't
right.
understand what you're going through, how can you solve for low energy or mood imbalance? Like, you can't solve for it because you don't have
Hmm.
the self-awareness around that fully.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah. I
it's a good
love
exercise.
that one. That is. I just thank you so much for joining us. I feel like this is a really great conversation. And I know you do performance coaching as well, don't you? Okay.
Yes, I do. So I do business coaching. Performance coaching comes from the fact that a lot of our functional medicine patients, we have access to. So functional medicine is basically like the modern version of all your medical tests, basically. Like, a
Mhm.
lot of the medical tests that are out there are very dated. And so by having all of the metrics of dopamine, willpower, serotonin, fulfillment, all that stuff, like, you can optimize a person's performance pretty easily as a result. So
Yeah.
yes, the answer is
Awesome.
yes, I do that.
If anyone wanted to get in contact with you to know more about that, how would they get in contact with you?
I suppose you can have my phone number. I don't know if that's bad, if it's just like there's too many people calling me, or my email address. dinpeterDDS@gmail.com is email. My phone number is 678-787-7858 if you want to text me. Hopefully I still have capacity to answer with the new baby girl coming on the way. But I
Yeah.
feel like this community is a beautiful one, and I've been in it and on the sidelines for, gosh, 8 years now. So all good.
Oh, thank you so much, Peter. I do hope that we get to run into each other again. And I just thank you so much for being on this show with me. I know this is something new for me. I was really scared to actually do this. And I'm so honored that someone who's been in the network for so long had amazing mentors around you that you was like, hey, I want to do this with you. So I'm so honored to have you on with us.
I enjoyed it as well, Cindy. You're actually amazing at this, and I hope you continue to keep doing this for all of the listeners. I mean, it's invaluable. It really, truly is invaluable for them. So you're doing great stuff. I love it.
Thank you. Thank you for everybody for tuning into this episode. If you want more information, visit foacoaching.com to find out more about all the things that Peter is discussing because we have such an amazing community. And I'll see you at the next episode.